Hey, this is Simon. We have a lot of fun with our spoiler section and we want more of you to have access. So we've added the spoiler perk to the Landed Knight tier. Follow the link to buy me a coffee in the show notes and sign up to hear the future. Thanks. Hello, welcome to the Ghosts of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Mackelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 311 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. Today we'll be discussing chapter 39 of A Dance with Dragons, which is Jon 8.
And as always, we're going to chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you, unless of course you have a Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer tier that includes spoilers. Well, then we are going to spoil things for you, but regardless, hopefully we'll provide you some entertainment along the way.
We'll summarise what happened, discuss our thoughts on it, provide some useful background, compare it to the television show, indulge a little pedantry, and cover some relevant news and listener correspondence. Be sure to check out the show notes. They'll provide some additional information about the characters and geography of this chapter. How are you, Mackelly?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you 2 days in a row. This time not in person, but
yeah, we actually met up. It was nice to see you.
Yeah, it was a fun time, and we talked a little GOH, we talked a little non-GOH.
Uh-huh.
And,
it's funny talking to our non-GOH friends about the podcast, you know, kind of like, they kind of like, they look at us like, really, you actually do that, you know? Like,
you do, right. It's like a whole second life that we have.
Exactly. It is a bit like that, yeah.
Yeah. But how about you?
Yeah,
how you doing?
It was good to see. It was also good to sort of rehash the stories we tell on the podcast to like face to face with people.
Yes, I got to tell my Dan Marino story yesterday.
Which was, I mean, I was not hearing it for the first time. I heard it like 4 times as I was editing the bloody thing. And then I heard it again yesterday, but it was really funny again. I really enjoyed hearing it.
And I enjoyed telling it. I don't think I mentioned this part on our show here, but I often think about if I had unlimited opportunities to have that conversation, if I could have managed to get myself invited to a round of golf with Dan, if I could just keep hitting reset. That one didn't work. Try it again. And
maybe you should use our socials to at him and say, "Hey, Dan, remember you met me?
Remember me from the breakfast shop on Kiowa?"
That one time. It probably stuck with you the way it has with me.
I'm sure he was buzzing like I was when he left the breakfast shop.
So my story this week is not a personal story. It's a thing I read. So since last we met, the World Holding Your Breath Championships have been held.
That's a thing. Okay. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Everything is a thing these days.
Well, the reason it seems an obscure sport, but the reason I mention it is because of the winning time. So what do you think? The idea of the sport is not just like, we trust you to hold your breath. This is, you sit at the bottom of a swimming pool without any breathing apparatus for as long as you can. Okay.
Yes.
So yes. What do you fancy the winning time was there, Mackelly?
Well, I know there are those people who are deep divers, like ocean deep divers, and that's what they do. They go down without any apparatus and hold their breath and then come back up. Unfortunately, I have no idea how long they do that for, so it doesn't really help me, but I do know they exist.
Think about yourself. If you want, I'll give you a little bit of time to try and hold your breath and see how long that goes. I'll edit this out, people, don't worry.
Yeah, you'll have to cover the dead air while I try not to pass out. Okay, I would say I could maybe do it for at most 2 to 2.5 minutes.
Wow.
Maybe.
I think you'd be surprised how long you'd have to practice to get to that. But yes,
oh, really?
I believe you could do that too. And I believe that these people competing for the World Championships might be able to beat that. You know, they're competing for the World Championships. And I was thinking 3-4 minutes maybe. The guy who won held his breath for 29 minutes.
That feels really dangerous. 29 minutes without oxygen to his brain.
When I read that number, I was so flabbergasted. I was like, did he take a book?
What is he doing down there for a half hour? Listening to us, maybe. Does he get to put it?
My brother said he died at 7 minutes and it took them 22 minutes to notice,
Oh, my goodness. That feels really unhealthy.
I mean, presumably he's got the capacity to do it. I mean, like...
Yeah, I just mean the lack of oxygen to the brain. That can't be good, right?
But the fact that he could do it, I mean, it's so beyond what I thought was humanly possible.
Yeah,
If the answer had been 8 minutes, I would have been flabbergasted. But it was 29.
When I was making my guess, I was basing it off of when we drive, when the kids were younger and we would drive places and we'd go through tunnels. Molly liked to play this game where we would all hold our breath and see if how far through the tunnel we could get.
What a great kid she is.
I was calculating.
Entertaining all the way.
That's right. And I was trying to think of how long it takes to get through a tunnel. Maybe 2.5 minutes is way longer than I actually could hold my breath. I have no idea.
As a kid, I timed this kind of thing, and I never got beyond a minute. I got close to a minute, but it's hard to do it for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that it would be. A half hour seems absurd. Impossible.
Exactly. So my plan for this story actually was, I was planning to ask you to think of the highest possible number you could ever think of and then quadruple it, and then you'd get close, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it turns out I would have been pretty good if I'd done that. But when I asked this to my family on the family call, my brother-in-law in England said, "Oh, I know how long those freedivers can go." He said, "I bet this guy did half an hour." I was like, "Oh." So
free divers. That's what I was trying to think of when I said deep divers. Close enough. Yeah. Wow. Fascinating information.
But I tell you what, Mackelly, you probably think this is a young man's game, right? I bet you're thinking, I bet this guy is 21, got lungs like a blue whale.
Right.
He was in his 40s.
Oh, well, how
There's
about that?
Hope for us.
Yeah, maybe it's not too late for us to get started.
Exactly.
Get our names in a world record book one way or another. I wonder what the easiest world record to break would be.
I'm going to hazard a guess it is not that one.
No, I'm thinking not. What one do we have a shot at? Most podcast episodes, no?
I think it's going to be something where you allow something mechanical to happen to you. Like...
Such as?
Being fired from a catapult.
Oh, like Joffrey and his antlermen.
Exactly. Anything that relies on our own physical endeavors, there's not a chance.
Right. Yeah, that's probably true. Well, we could dream. We get started now. Maybe in 10 years we can make it to 15 minutes. It's still halfway.
I will say that I've known this story for 6 days now, and when I saw you yesterday, I was desperate to tell you this, but I was like, no, gotta hold it back for the podcast.
I felt there was something in your eyes that you were desperately wanting to say.
Because then I could have asked everybody. But you know what would have happened? Some smart aleck would have been like, well, I watched a show about free divers, and I think they probably did half an hour.
Yes.
Apologies to my brother-in-law. That's not what you sounded like.
Is he the one that listens to our opening?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Mackelly, how could you say such a thing about me?
I know. I'm really getting good at sounding like you on this show.
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes.
All right, let's get down to business. How do we leave Jon Snow? In the last Jon chapter, he was north of the Wall, escorting new recruits to say their vows in the Weirwood Grove. There, he captured several wildlings, including a giant, and brought them back to the Wall. He returned to a letter from Stannis describing his victory at Deepwood Mart, his swelling host, and his plan to go to Winterfell to defeat the Boltons and save Arya. Mackelly, why don't we give the summary of this one?
All right. Well, Val waits by the gate with a one-eyed Garen accompanied by Mully and Ed. Jon comments on the horse, but Val's not worried. She has both of her eyes. Her mission is to take terms to Tormund and his people, encouraging them to come through the wall in peace. Jon reaffirms that she doesn't have to do this. She says she's fine. She'll be back in a week with or without Tormund. They pass through the tunnel, guards staring at Val. She kisses Jon goodbye as he frets about his promise to Stannis that he would keep her safe. Last question before she leaves. Did Jon kill Jarl? He answers honestly that it was the wall. He knows she'll come back for the baby. She denies caring, but she smiles and tells Jon to keep him away from Melisandre. Val believes the Red Woman knows the truth. Jon wonders, if she did know, she could have stopped the baby swap. Val reckons she had her own reasons.
As the men head back to the tunnel, Ed predicts it will end badly. Mully hints at concerns about the plan within the rank and file. Jon's not worried. Back at Castle Black, Ed brings breakfast. Mormont's Raven steals Jon's bacon. Jon's still eating when the three energy vampires...
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but that was funny.
Bowen Marsh, Othell Yarwick and Septon Cellador arrive with the happy news and fresh baked goods. Now I'm joking.
Yeah. That's
Cellador
not true.
Cellador is hungover. First Builder Othell looks constipated and Bowen Marsh is just angry. Jon heads off their whining with questions of his own. Situation report from the Night Fort. The Queen, Selyse, wants to move in. Habitable but not comfortable is Yarwick's response. Jon offers the Giants help to speed things along. Yarwick is startled at the prospect.
And declines promptly.
Mm-hmm.
Jon uses the Builder's fear to keep the Giant, with whom he would be loath to part. The Giant's name is One Weg One Dar One, or One for short. And through a translator, Jon has been learning much about giants. Marsh gets down to business. Jon wants to send Ed and Iron Emmett away? Longbarrow needs good men. And is Leathers to replace Iron Emmett as Master-at-Arms? Jon defends his choice. Leathers might have been a wildling, but he's way more of a fighter than most of the knights. And he's said the words. He is now a black brother, and what's more, he can teach the boys some words of the old tongue, the ways of the free folk, etc. Marsh concludes with, the men don't trust him. Jon is unmoved.
Next, Cellador chimes in that Jon should not choose the catamite, Satin, as his squire to replace Ed. Jon extols Satin's virtues. Marsh retorts that the men don't like it. Jon gets angry and once again reminds the whiners that Satin is their brother. His past does not matter. The next issue is the two corpses in the ice cell. Jon wants to learn if they can talk, what part of their humanity remains. Lastly, talk turns to Val. She's to offer the same terms to Tormund as were offered at Molestown. Food, shelter, safety, if the people will help to hold the wall. The trio raise the same objections to making peace with the Wildlings again.
Jon continues that the recently rescued freefolk told of a great gathering of freefolk at Hardhome. A prophetess had a vision of salvation coming by sea, boats to rescue them from the White Walkers. The men think the Wildlings must be desperate to risk Hardhome given its history. The captains are fine with the Wildlings dying there, but once again Jon points out that Wildlings who die north of the wall are even more dangerous than the living ones. The idiots are dismissed, tight-lipped and pale.
Man, I found this chapter frustrating. I don't know if it's because of how much I'm rereading, but they're constantly not grasping the fact that Wildlings north of the wall are a danger, not because they're Wildlings, but because they are future Whites. It's so frustrating.
You know, I was thinking about it as I went through this chapter this week, and I looked it up to make sure I was right. All three of them were not present on the Fist of the First Men. So none of them have seen what Whites en masse can do.
But they did see the one that came to attack Lord Commander Mormont.
Yes, well, I guess they saw the dead bodies, and then Jon killed Othell, and I can't remember who killed the one that attacked Jafer Flowers, but I don't know that they physically saw either of them in the act.
But there's enough stories going around that they must believe that this is happening. I mean, like...
yes. Well, part of the problem is that so few people made it back from the Great Ranging to, to build a mass comprehension of what they're up against.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
still.
You're right. I mean, some of it I think is just innate insubordination. These guys don't think that Jon should be Lord Commander, and so they want to undermine his decisions. But it is frustrating that they can't see that the wall is strengthened by the presence of these wildlings. Yes, there'll be some trouble. Of course there will. But on the flip side of that, the wall has a lot more defenders than it had 2 months ago.
Yes. And it comes down to they have a common enemy that they have to join forces together in order to defeat. Which
the free folk seem able to grasp.
Right. Well, they probably have a lot more experience dealing with the White Walkers and other and whites than these the Black Brothers do.
Yeah. So back to the top of the chapter. So Val's doing this mission. She's an interesting choice because, on the one hand, she's a wildling. She's more comfortable being north of the wall than. Certainly, I wouldn't send a member of the Night's Watch on this mission. That would not be such a great idea.
No. But he's already sent enough out there, and none have returned.
Indeed. So. But she is a single female, and a very attractive single female. It seems that's a bit risky. And also there's a personal risk to Jon, because he promised Stannis to keep Val safe. I mean, there were a lot of other wildlings he could have sent, which sort of undermines in some ways the sort of argument that she isn't a princess. Because in some ways he's sending her because she has some cachet, because she's a little bit more important than your average wildling.
Yes. You're right on it. You're right on everything you've said. Jon says, you don't have to do this. The risk, and she finishes his sentence and says, is mine. But that's not entirely true. The risk is as much his as it is hers. Yeah. She says that this forest holds no ghosts for me, but it might hold others. It might hold a huge horde of whites. And he's using a major technicality to get around his promise to Stannis. He promised to keep the princess closely, and his technicality is, well, she's not really a princess, so I'm not actually violating my promise. And he thinks my father would disapprove, and I agree. Ned would definitely disapprove of
for sure. Yes. But actually, and that's going to lead me into a sort of a bit of a discussion later on. I did think that the second half of that rationale was, yes, my father would disapprove, but my primary driver now is my vow to the Night's Watch, and my vow to the Night's Watch trumps my promise to Stannis.
Yes,
because my promise to Stannis has no bearing on the safety of the wall.
Right. It's
but
just
getting Tormund this side of the wall.
Wants.
Yes, is a very real risk to the wall. The outcome of this mission.
Yeah, his honor is worth less than what's right for humanity south of the wall, and north of the wall for that matter, but ultimately south of the wall. And I can't argue with that. The question is, will everyone else see it that way if Val doesn't return? Or will he just look like the guy who lost the princess?
Well, two ways of looking at that. One is nobody else. He didn't make a promise to anybody else to look after Val. He only made it to Stannis.
Well, yes, but I guess everyone knows that he made that promise to Stannis because multiple people have bring it up to him in this chapter.
All of the Brothers of the Night's Watch who were watching her with googly eyes might regret her passing. But
you had to send Val. Do you think he should have consulted Melisandre first? Can you look at your flames? She saw the Rangers' future. Should he have asked her, do you see Val's future if I do this?
That's a tricky one, of course, because then you are definitely letting the cat out of the bag to the Stannis faction.
That's right. Yes.
Theoretically, if I were to,
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely. Stannis' people would be in the know about it ahead of time. There's a bit of a moment between the pair after she kisses him on the cheek, and their breath kind of linger together, which means their faces were fairly close enough, I guess. Mm-hmm. And we're in his POV, so we may have expected to get his thoughts as this is happening. But I wonder if he possibly had a quick flash of him being Jon Stark, Lord of Winterfell, with this Val as his wife, as Stannis offered to give him.
I wonder if she's aware of that offer.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I mean, we have no knowledge that she was told of it, but she may have been told of it, and she might be sort of like, trying to tempt him again. Hey, are you sure you want to reject this?
Yeah, well, yeah. It certainly doesn't make his interactions that come later in this chapter any more palatable, as he thinks, I could be Jon Stark, Lord of Winterfell, with Val as my wife, and I'm dealing with you three idiots.
Yeah. We'd be safe in Winterfell while you guys fight the Wildlings until they die and get back up again and fight them again.
Right, yeah. Although, probably he learned from his experience with Ygritte and how that turned out, and he thought, I'm not going down that road again. I took a vow. I'm running away from this.
Yeah. To be fair to Ygritte, he did betray her pretty horribly. One likes to imagine he wouldn't have betrayed Val to the same extent.
True.
The other thing is, of course, he is a 16-year-old boy. It's not beyond... You're raising the fact that it's his POV does raise the sort of like thought in my head of like, I think she's into me. At 16, I had those similar kinds of thoughts, but
right.
With the benefit of hindsight, I'm pretty sure they weren't true.
Yep, I follow your meaning.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes.
Yeah, and then just before she leaves, she asks Jon if he killed Jarl, and I'd forgotten that she had a thing with Jarl, right? That was her.
Yes.
They were an item.
Yes, when Jon first met Mance, went into Mance's tent and met Mance and Dalla and Styr, Jarl was in there with Val, and Val was as well, and it was explained that they have a relationship. And then Jarl was given co-lead, along with Styr, of the raiding party that Jon and Ygritte went along with to scale the wall, and it was during the scaling the wall that Jarl fell to his death when a chunk of ice broke off of the wall, and he ended up being impaled on a tree down below. So
no, that's right. And so Noble Jon Stark did not lie for once. He did actually tell the truth.
Yes,
Jarl
he did not kill.
Yes.
But he did think to himself, I might have had to kill him though, had things turned out differently.
Right? Yeah.
He didn't voice that, thankfully.
Yeah. So Val thinks that Melisandre knows of the baby switch, that the baby who is still at the wall is actually Craster and Gilly's baby, not Mance and Dalla's. So, do we know that Val is right about that?
We don't. I went back and reread, kind of speed read, the entire Melisandre chapter, and there's no reference to it.
Right.
So I have several questions about this conversation they have, because she says Melisandre knows who the boy is, and then admits that it's Gilly's baby. So why does that matter? What is the concern if Melisandre knows that this baby is Craster and Gilly's baby? I would think that's better, because the other alternative is if she doesn't know that this baby is Craster and Gilly's baby and still thinks she's got this baby that she can sacrifice if need be.
Right. I think your question is reasonable, but it's not that hard to answer. She's an agent of Stannis, and knowing that they've pulled this switch is going to make Stannis very angry.
Yes,
that is true. That's the bit. But I think, for me, the implication of it all was that Melisandre knew even before Stannis left that the baby switch had happened and never bothered telling Stannis.
And why would she do that? Do you think she believes that there's not enough king's blood, that Mance really wasn't a king?
She's a bit softy?
Maybe she's like, I was fine with killing Edric for a sacrifice. I'm not killing this baby, though. That's where I draw the line.
But again, Val has the right of it, perhaps, because Val is saying she's beholden to what she sees in the flames. She's got her own thoughts, her own, motives, and they're hard to guess what they are. So she knows, but she's keeping it to herself for her own reasons. Possibly as a card to use against Jon later on. Hey, welcome back, Stannis. Jon's got something to tell you, unless he sleeps with me,
Right. That might be exactly how that works out. We'll see, I guess.
Again, possibly Jon's POV of it. That's probably what's going to happen.
Yes. That's his thoughts, I'm sure. But like I said, I think it would be more of a problem if Jon had to prove that this is not Mance's son if the time came.
Right.
Because he's already set up the lie by describing the babies in their opposite way to Stannis and Melisandre, their opposite physical descriptions. So if Gilly's baby were to burn in a sacrifice, then this would all be for naught, because a child dies regardless. And this time, in this situation, they don't even get the benefit of a useful spell that might help save humanity.
Exactly. This would just be killing a baby, right? Yeah, not even killing a baby for a reason, yeah.
Right. But Melisandre did see one thing that Val references here in this discussion. She says to Jon that Melisandre sees things in the flames, and Jon says, yeah, ashes and cinders. And Val says, dragons, kings and dragons, I think it is. And Melisandre did see a great winged shadows in the sky in her Melisandre chapter. So I don't know if Val and Melisandre have been chatting, like just discussing the things that Melisandre sees. I don't know how Val would know that she's seeing dragons in her flames.
So they're completely best buddies and they share everything with it. And Val is just pretending to have all these insights to Jon. Right? Yeah. She knows. How do you know? Oh, I just know. Women's intuition.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
So, Val asks Jon if he remembers what Dalla told him, and his recollection of what she's talking about is that Dalla said that a sword without a hilt with no safe way to hold it. But I've forgotten what it was referring to, is the only thing. Is it magic?
Yes. It's how that all came about was when Jon was parleying with Mance right before Stannis attacked. He saw the Horn of Joramun and asked Mance, why are you even bothering fighting? Just blow the horn and let the wall fall. And that's when Dalla said, sorcery is like a sword without a hilt with no safe way to hold it. Meaning, if the wall falls, we can't hide behind it from the others. So I think in this instance, Val is meaning it possibly as, don't trust Melisandre's sorcery. You might discover you can't control it, and you get more than you're bargaining for. Something along those lines.
Right. And so that then segues into what Melisandre said about it, which is that when you're beset on all sides by enemies, a sword without a hilt is better than no sword at all.
Yes. Right.
But it's an interesting, if you think about it in those terms, that's an interesting sort of admission by Melisandre that it is something to be afraid of and to be eschewed until in extremis you should use it. She's kind of admitting to that.
Yes. But while I was rereading that chapter to try and figure out exactly when it was that Dalla gave him that line, I saw a possible inspiration to Jon's plan to get all of the wildlings south of the wall and man all these castles. Mance says to Jon, I could continue this fight here, and meanwhile send 10,000 men to storm Eastwatch and the Shadow Tower. And at the same time, I could send men and mammoths to dig out the buried gates of the uninhabited castles all at once. But he won't do it because it would cost too many lives. But he basically spelled out a possible plan that the others could use if they have enough whites to to do this task.
Yes, which absolutely gives you a reason to man all of those forts all the way along the wall. Yeah.
So he might have been holding on to that ever since then and thinking, we've got to man all the castles just so we know what's going on at each gate.
So, yeah, sort of concluding the whole scene with Val, she's amazingly self-possessed for someone who's just riding off into the frozen north on her own with some salt and
wine.
Because sort of, I'm not much of a royalist, but she sort of like has a princessly bearing as she leaves. She
does. Yes, yeah. She does have an air about her. Yep. And maybe it's because she was Mance Rayder's woman's sister for long enough that she developed this kind of royal air about her. It's hard to imagine
the free folk getting airs and graces over that kind of level.
Yes, I agree. But she really does. She seems a bit, I don't know, elevated in some ways.
So when they go back to the wall, Jon gets breakfast, and then the three complainers, Bowen Marsh, Othell Yarwick, and Septon Cellador arrive. I was looking for, I love collective nouns, yeah? That's one of my favourite things.
Yes,
You'll remember a circus of pillows, which I really enjoyed.
That is good, yes.
I was looking for one for these three, and I found three good candidates, okay?
Okay, so, yes, let's hear them.
The collective noun for jurors, people on a jury. Jurors is a word that's hard to get across. Jurors is a damning of jurors.
Really?
A damning.
I did not know that. Mm-hmm. That feels like not the most inspiring term for jurors if you're the defendant.
I do, yes. I read a little bit of the sort of history of that, and it was like pretty much if you were on trial, you were in big trouble.
Oh, okay.
That's what the jurors were for, were to damn you, basically.
Yes, I see.
And then this is one of the saddest collective nouns. There's a collective noun for cuckolds.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Yeah. Is probably some Facebook group of disgruntled men, but it's actually, it's called an incredulity of cuckolds.
Huh. Okay, I like that. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
And then painters, and to be clear, I mean portrait painters, not decorators. Yes.
Okay, right, yes.
Is a misbelief.
Really?
A misbelief of painters, yeah.
I'm not sure how that goes together. It's neat, but
I think because they were creating something that wasn't quite true, I think that's where it came from.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
But I think these three could be a damning, an incredulity, or a misbelief. They are, whichever one of those.
All three of those. Really. Yeah, all three fit pretty well. Because angry Bowen Marsh shows up right on cue, as he does every Jon chapter. I'm starting to see why Bowen didn't vote for Jon, because both Marsh and Yarwick supported Slynt. And it is coming pretty clear that they really do not think that Jon is the man for this task.
But it's, Slynt was different, but I get if you've been on the wall for a long time, for many years, you think the purpose is to keep the Wildlings out. I get that.
Yes, I do too. Right.
But if ever there was a paradigm shift, the dead rising counts as that paradigm shift. Like the day the dead rise, a lot of my priorities are going to change.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, people you're enemies with might become allies if the situation requires it, for instance.
So Queen Selyse wants to move into the Night Fort, and that's an interesting change because she's over at Eastwatch by the Sea, right? So
yeah.
And Yarwick thinks that the Night Fort is not yet as comfortable as Eastwatch.
Which that's the whole reason she's unhappy at Eastwatch. Wait till she gets to the Night Fort.
Yeah.
He says there's no furnishings, it's partly rebuilt, and not so many comforts as at Eastwatch. So I'm not seeing a great fit here for Queen Selyse.
No. And he makes a good point. It's further from the ships should she decide to go home or something. But
right, yes. It is pretty neat, though, that they're making progress on the Night Fort. Last we were there in that Bran chapter, it was complete ruin. So
right, yeah.
That's pretty neat.
So she's going to come to town. I think, help me, this is going to be a test of your memory. Which side of Castle Black is the Night Fort? Is it west?
It's west.
East? So she'd have to come via Castle Black on her way.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll get to meet Selyse a little bit. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. And now Axel Florent is the one that sent Jon the Raven, and he's referring to himself as the Queen's Hand, which I went digging, and this is the first instance I could find of a Queen's Hand. Because even with Dany, like Jorah and then Barristan Selmy were her Lord Commanders of her Queen's Guard. Right. I don't believe either of them were considered her Queen's Hand yet at this point.
And she was the Queen in the sense of the ruler, whereas Selyse is only Queen by marriage to the King. The King has a hand. The ruling monarch would have a hand, but it is, and it actually, I think Jon actually makes that point for us, because I think when this gets mentioned, he says something like he styles himself as the Queen's
Hand. That's how he words it, something along those lines. Yes.
Yeah.
Now Axel was hell bent on becoming the King's Hand, and basically told Davos, "You better put in my name to be the King's Hand, or you might find yourself falling off a ladder or falling off a bridge or some misfortune." So he was going to get that hand title one way or another, and I guess Queen is the best he could do here.
Because Jon tries to convince Yarwick to take one, or I let you have him in the summary, but one weg one dar one, to help build the Night Fort. And I think Yarwick's foolish for not listening, because the problem is, again, these people are so stuck in their ways, that they haven't really encountered giants before. They just have the bedtime stories that they remember from their youth. The bedtime stories were that they would eat porridge which was laced with human blood, is the bedtime stories. Hang on,
familiar.
We'll come back to that. Stop stroking your chin. We'll come back to that. But it turns out that one is actually a vegan. He just eats root vegetables. So and quite gentle, apart from when he's roused to anger, and then not gentle at all. But
yes.
Yes, all right. So you wanted to talk about porridge with blood in it, because that does sound like something we have both talked about, failed to talk about, and then talked about again. Yes,
right. It does remind me of something from a few chapters back. Some other character. Was it Bran, I believe?
Yes, Bran was eating a paste which had red streaks in it. So it does sound...
Yes.
I got to say, having read this, now I'm sort of like... I remember last time I poo-pooed the Jojen paste theory. This makes me think, well, maybe they've got something, because it is hinting at that, for sure.
Yeah, well, maybe Bran is going to turn into a giant. Maybe that's what it's going to make him grow really big. But what Jon is doing here, he's learning as much as he can about the giants through a translator, often Leathers, sometimes one of the others that were with the giant when they found them. And soon we're going to discuss the plans for the corpses. But Jon is smartly studying his foes, and not that all the giants are foes. It doesn't appear one is a foe, but some could be foes. But sadly, it doesn't feel like any of this is being chronicled. It's unclear if Jon is recording these interactions. He wishes Sam was here to write it all down. I'm unsure if Jon is doing that himself, but he really should be, because, this is good for his purposes. 500 years from now, it would be useful to have this information. Yeah, right. I agree. For his purposes, it's good. For the realm at large, it also could be really good to learn these things.
The problem is, of course, with that is, and this sort of goes back all the way to Game of Thrones and the early chapters here at the Wall. Everything would be in this library for hundreds of years and will be forgotten, and there'd be times when there isn't a Sam at the wall, and then people wouldn't even believe in giants by the time this information became valuable. And then some future Sam would dig it out and say, they're vegetarian. Everything's fine.
Invite them to dinner. Just make sure you have enough root vegetables. Yeah. But there's definitely some concern with him living at Castle Black, because Jon describes him as twice as large and half as smart as Hodor, which is, as he puts it, a sobering idea to consider.
I'm a little bit offended for both Hodor and Wun there, because the size thing, yes, all right, he's twice the size of Hodor, I get that. But he can talk. They can communicate with him. They don't speak his language very well, but they can, that's not because he's dumb.
Right. And Hodor, he can understand he just can't speak.
That's true.
He can comprehend fine. So yeah, you're right. It is kind of unfair to both of them, I guess. But it is a recipe for a disastrous miscommunication, having this giant that can't speak the common tongue living in the yard of Castle Black.
Yeah. So the misbelief start to list their men's complaints. That is the bastion of the cowardly, to talk about what other people are saying, as if to distance yourself from your own complaints.
Yeah, it's not me. I mean, I'm fine with it. It's the men. Yes. Yeah. I tried to explain. They wouldn't listen.
The removal of Iron Emmett and Dolorous Edd to Long Barrow, I think there's some concern about that, and probably more about Iron Emmett, who is the current Master at Arms.
Yeah.
I don't think they really care who's going. I think they really care about the two replacements here at Castle Black. That's their issue.
Emmett is headed to command the Long Barrow, which is where the Wildling women are going to be stationed. And we made some conjectures last Jon chapter that the men would have some derogatory term for the castle, and they're calling it Whore's Hole. Mm-hmm. So we felt that one coming. But yes, I agree. That's the minor gripe, taking good men away from Castle Black. The major gripes are the replacements, Satin as steward and Leathers as Master at Arms. You were saying, I apologize. I just wanted to bring that up.
You're absolutely right. So Leathers, being a former wildling, that offends them. But Jon's right. I mean, he strikes terror into the heart of the recruits because he is a fierce fighter. Jon says he's a match for Jon. Jon's castle trained. And as he points out, the new recruits are going to face real battle. And being used to fighting whilst terrified might actually come in handy, because they're going to be terrified when the dead rise.
Makes sense.
So I have absolutely no problem with it. And the other thing is actually learning a few words of the old tongue. That's another thing. Say, shouting down from the wall to the as yet undead free folk, hey, come on in, you can have some turnips or porridge with blood in it if you prefer. We don't have to fight. Would be useful,
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about it when we met Leathers last Jon chapter, that he clearly is very open-minded and courageous to go from being a wildling to committing his life to being a sworn brother of the Night's Watch.
Yeah.
And Marsh calls him a wildling and a savage and derogatory, meaning all this in a derogatory way. And despite all this, despite many of his brothers having a very dark pasts, I guess I'll say, he can't wrap his head around the fact that he's a wildling. Like, that's it. Right. He's a wildling.
He may have been within sort of the Seven Kingdoms rules, a very law-abiding wildling who just happened to be from north of the wall, whereas at least 3/4 of his brothers are criminals of the worst kind.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
All
that said, the major gripe about Leathers, the one they offer, is that the position is usually reserved for a knight or at least a ranger. First off, Leathers is a ranger, albeit a brand new ranger, but he is a ranger. So, again, that aside, Jon is asking, especially the older brothers, to accept a lot of change all at once. So, we've got the Wildlings in Castle Black and in Molestown. We've got women in Harden's Tower, a giant in the yard. There's a king in the castle calling the shots. He may have wanted to consider a longer-standing knight or ranger as master-at-arms, if there's any alive and available, just as a bone to some of these older brothers who are struggling with the adjustments.
Let me counter. Okay, he's Lord Commander, can choose who he wants.
Absolutely.
Everybody who's said the words is a brother.
Agreed.
And should be treated as such. It's like they constantly have to be reminded about what's the point of their existence. You are members of the Night's Watch, as are your brothers, and your role is to defend the realms of men against attacks from the north. If the Wildlings voluntarily come through the wall and offer to help, that is not an attack.
Right, I agree. Between leathers and satins, with Bowen's leathers and satin stance, it proves to me that Marsh was not the right man for Lord Commander job in the first place. Because you can't have Lord Commander who can't put their fellow brothers' pasts aside when they take the black. It's what the whole brotherhood is built on. It's the foundation of the whole structure of a new start, and they're all brothers. Once you take the black, your past is washed away.
And honestly, those who are knights who've been trained in castles with castles forged steel, they will rise to the top in terms of fighting because they'll be better than the cutthroats and rapists.
Yes.
So you don't have to favor them. It will happen by itself.
Yeah.
They've had every advantage. I despair.
I understand. I understand. But so Satin is going to replace Ed as Jon's steward. And the problem there is, like Jon, the Lord Commander's steward is usually of noble birth and groomed for command. And, remember, Jon railed against that assignment until he understood this concept. He wanted to be a ranger like his uncle. And Jon points out to the men that Satin began with his fellow recruits hating him and then made friends out of each and every one of them. And I thought, that sounds familiar. I know another guy who started out his time at Castle Black being hated by all his fellow recruits and turned them into friends. And I wonder if maybe Jon sees a bit of himself in Satin and wants to see him reach his full potential, so is bringing him in under his wing to watch him, to help him rise to what he can be.
So we also finally get why Jon brought the two corpses home. He wants to try and test the humanity of the corpses because you always remember the name of that first wight to wake up. You said it earlier and I've already forgotten it.
Othell.
Othell, whilst dead, when he reanimated, he still had knowledge of some things. He still knew who he was trying to kill and how to get to that place. So they're not complete brainless zombies. So it is worthwhile. And again, it'd be good to take notes on this kind of thing, but needs must when Sam's not there. You probably just have to remember it all.
Yeah, exactly. He needs someone. Well, he did say that Satin knows how to read and write. So maybe Satin could write this stuff down.
Maybe it's like a Bilbo Baggins sort of there and back again when this is all over. Jon can sit down and write his memoir.
Write it all out. But he mentions that his Lord Father is the one where he got this advice from, to know your enemy.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I wondered if it's a reminder to these men of who Jon's father is, who he learned from, and whether it had any impact on the men. It's unlikely, but this is the son of Ned Stark, Lord of Winterfell, Warden of the North, also known traitor, but we know that's not true, but the realm... But, maybe just a little pinch of reminder. I am Ned Stark's son. Let's not forget that. I was raised
nothing
in
else,
Winterfell.
Benjen Stark's nephew.
Yeah, that too, yeah.
Talk turns to Val and Tormund, and Marsh throws out what you've put in the notes as the T word. But the funny thing is, I don't know what the hell you mean. So.
Treason.
Oh, treason. Yeah,
some
right,
might consider this treason. It's just we just keep. I mean, we could just keep doing a loop in this chapter because again,
they do. Why shouldn't we?
Lack of comprehension of what happens to the wildlings left north of the wall. It's head scratching. How can you not understand this?
And it reaches its apotheosis, I think, when we were talking about Hardhome, because now you're talking. I mean, my feeling, and this is just a gut feeling about what's going on north of the wall, is Tormund's got a ragtag band of a few hundred, but thousands have gone to Hardhome and are waiting there, and that is a future army that you need to deal with today. And now these three are like, hey, great, let them die.
Right. They're enemies. That's what Bowen keeps saying. They're enemies. Let them die. But on some level, if you look at it from Bowen's point of view, more mouths to feed than he has food for. And that is his purview. That's the way he thinks about the wall and the men on the wall is, I need to feed all these people. So I guess if he's refusing to look at it any other way, he's only seeing more mouths than I have food for. So he just can't adjust. True. He just can't adjust his mindset to. It doesn't really. We'll sort out the food thing. We need to keep the others' ranks from swelling with whites.
If we don't invite these guys south of the wall, we won't die of starvation.
Right. You won't have to worry about that. You'll have plenty of food in stores.
You're absolutely right, Bowen. We will die with stores full of food. So to Hardhome. So we heard from this prophetess, Mother Mole, that she'd seen a prophecy of salvation coming to the free folk if they gathered at Hardhome. And this has caught fire to the point where even the people starving in the Weirwood Grove had heard this. And if they weren't starving to death, probably would have gone. So we can conclude that they are headed that way. And I think, wasn't there a mention that ships from the Night's Watch had been north to look at Hardhome and seen people in the caves? Is that right?
Their ships had gone north previously and
not recently, not to see them now.
Right,
They'd gone north previously to see what Hardhome looked like, and
and there's nothing.
Desolation. Right.
Yes, other than the pocked caves in the cliffs. There's no aside from that, there is no defense there. And we did hear about Mother Mole back in the prologue of A Dance with Dragons, this book here, when the Varamir Sixskins chapter, and he told us about the thousands of desperate free folk who followed her to Hardhome. And
I knew there was a reason. I had a hunch that she had more followers than Tormund. That was it. It was Varamir. So
back in Melisandre's chapter, she had a vision that at the time we couldn't really make heads or tails of because we didn't really have any context for it. Do you want to read? Would you like to read the vision? I put it in there, at least enough that makes the part that makes sense.
Yeah, her vision was flaming arrows arced above a wooden wall, and dead things shambled silent through the cold beneath a great grey cliff where fires burned inside 100 caves. Then the wind rose and the white mist came sweeping in, impossibly cold, and one by one the fires went out. I see it now, Mackelly. I see why you brought this up, because that sounds like the cliffs of Hardhome with the refugee wildlings huddling, and this impossibly cold white mist feels like the arrival of the White Walkers.
Exactly. Remember, Val said, this isn't cold. Cold is when it hurts to breathe, when the others come. And Jon mentions the cliffs pocketed with the caves above Hardhome. But it's the first sentence that confuses me, because she's seeing flaming arrows arced above a wooden wall, but we're told that there is no shelter, there is no defense, there is nothing except for these caves. So possibly she's seeing the destruction from 600 years ago, or she's seeing the fate of these wildlings that followed Mother Mole. If it's the latter, that's real bad news for the living, because that's thousands more whites added to the ranks for the others.
It's funny you should say that, because I thought the same thing. I wondered if perhaps she was seeing both things simultaneously, both the original destruction of Hardhome and now the new threat there.
Or possibly the new inhabitants have put up some walls. You know, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. But I saw the same thing. I thought that she was maybe seeing both the old and the new at the same time.
Could be. But again,
just to mention
Marsh misses the point. he misses the point entirely. Leave the enemies to their fate. Too many mouths to feed. So. And
I wouldn't even mind, but Jon didn't even say he was going to do anything about it. He was just reporting on it. He didn't say, I'm actually going to go and rescue these people. These guys are criticizing Jon for a plan he hasn't even voiced yet. Of course, if I was Jon, I'd be like, Bowen, what do you think I should do? All right. 180 degrees. Got
it. I'm doing the opposite.
I do think, actually, I was thinking about this while we were writing this. I think occasionally Jon should tell Bowen Marsh something that he hasn't done, just to have Bowen Marsh disagree with him. Then just say, just kidding. Wait for Bowen Marsh to disagree with his new position, you know.
He should tell Bowen that he's done the opposite of whatever he's actually planning on doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I also think motivational posters explaining how a wildling becomes a white plastered all around Castle Black might be handy.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt. Yeah, you know, like they do in schools, you know, like anti-drugs and alcohol campaigns.
Right. Don't rely on their reading ability. Just like you have like a diagram, have a flow diagram of person, die, get up, zombie, you know.
Yes, and then the bottom one being a huge horde of whites and White Walkers at the wall.
Exactly.
Yeah, that might work.
All right, that's excellent. Let's move on to the spoilers. Remember, if you join our Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer tiers at the higher levels, you get the spoiler section. All right, thank you. Those are very nice spoilers. Remember, join us at those upper tiers and you can get them. How about some background?
Like we had said during our discussion, Jon shares a story told by the Wildlings that he brought in last chapter with 1-1, that many refugees from the battle with Stannis' force followed the Woods Witch Mother Mole to Hardhome, believing that they'll find salvation where they once found damnation. Jon explains that it was once the closest thing to a town north of the wall with a deep port and plenty of game and fish, but that it all came crashing down one night 600 years ago when the settlement burned so hot that watchers on the wall thought the sun was rising in the north. Now, nobody knows for sure, but the rumors say that either ships carried the inhabitants off to slavery or they were slaughtered for meat. The area is now considered cursed and has remained uninhabited ever since. That's pretty much what Jon tells us in this chapter. Now, I don't know a lot more than that, but here's a few details that I can fill in for you. So the settlement is located at the tip of the peninsula called Storald's Point that juts out into the Shivering Sea. And a maester named Willis traveled to Hardhome to chronicle the settlement's customs as well as act as a healer and counselor to those who dwelt there. He was under the protection of a man named Gorm the Wolf, one of the 4 chieftains in the settlement. However, Gorm was killed in a drunken brawl, and Willis suddenly found himself without a protector. So the maester fled back to Old Town, where he wrote a book called Hardhome, an account of 3 years spent beyond the wall among savages, raiders, and woods witches. Clearly, Bowen has read that book. Oddly, not long after the book was finished, Willis disappeared and was never seen again. He was last spotted at the Old Town docks looking for a ship to Eastwatch. As for the disputed, but universally accepted as awful, fate of the inhabitants, the slavers almost certainly came from Essos. Others say they were slaughtered for meat by the Skagossi, who are known to practice cannibalism. So that's what I got for you to fill in the gaps on Hardhome.
That's right. Yeah. I'd forgotten about Skagos, and one of our favourite characters is perhaps hiding there, as I recall.
That's what we... One kid or another, if we can recall who that might be.
Mm-hmm. Comparison with the television show. Val never existed in the television show. Tormund was captured when Stannis arrived and witnessed the execution of the real Mansraider. After Stannis departs, Jon frees Tormund. The Wildling is to help round up remaining free folk north of the wall, sort of taking Val's role, to settle the land south of it and to aid the defence of the wall when the time comes. All very simple. Honestly, the TV show is doing it better in many ways. I mean, I get that you kind of need to see this sort of like Jon as a leader, sort of like swimming against the tide and everything, but the simplification of what goes on in the TV show is good. I think Mance Rayder just being killed was a bit boring. I like the man's story in the book, but
me too.
The Tormund thing, I'm fine with that. I didn't see any pedantry this time. Did you get anything?
No, there is a reference to the outermost door on the north side of the wall being made of wood, and I did feel like that was
fresh new wood.
Yes, I felt like maybe that was a bad idea. The inner three gates are made of iron. And at first I thought, well, maybe it's just a temporary door because they lost Donald Noy, so maybe they don't have a blacksmith. But I went back and looked, and the original gate was also made of wood. So
yeah,
I don't know why the middle three gates would be iron and the outer...
Maybe, but I was thinking that it couldn't be a portcullis. It would have to be a solid door, otherwise snow would get in and fill the tunnel.
Yes, that makes sense.
All right, so news and notes. Night of the Seven Kingdoms showrunner Ira Parker confirmed recently at the New York Comic Con that the show will differ from Game of Thrones and House of the Dragons in more than just its lighter tone, which I was going to say is the biggest difference of all, I would say. It will also require much less screen time. According to Parker, Season 1 consists of 6 half-hour-ish episodes. Wow. And the primary reason is something we've commented on before, the shorter length of the novella, reaching only 160 pages versus the tomes and tomes that made up The Song of Ice and Fire. And as a reminder, the premiere is January 18th, 2026. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely looking forward. I guess it makes sense that they're half-hour shows. I was a little bit surprised when I saw that, but, I
love a half-hour show, though.
I do too, but I guess I was just looking for more time in Westeros. But
yeah.
Anyway, in other news, we have a big happy birthday shout-out to none other than our Jenny of Old Stones.
Yay, happy birthday, Jenny.
As of today, as of this recording, her birthday has not come yet, but it will be belated by the time this episode reaches her ears. So
understood.
I guess technically we should have done this last week, but
Yeah, it still works.
Yes. So happy birthday, Jenny. Yeah. We always appreciate you being in our lives.
And apparently, this is news to me, but we have a new Buy Me a Coffee feature. We offer 7-day free trials for the existing tiers, so you can get on a tier, see if you like the benefits, and then commit or back out.
Absolutely. I just learned this today. I just got an email today. There's a lot of things that I've been fighting the fight with Buy Me a Coffee on that I haven't made any progress on, but this is one thing that I had requested years ago.
Wow, good.
And I'm not saying it was me that won the battle, swung the tide, but it is good that we can now finally offer this. So yeah, if you even have passing interest in joining our tiers, now you can check it out for a week and see what you think.
Nice. Well, Mackelly, the camel's back has broken and you were a straw. I'm not saying you were the straw, but
That's right.
And we have a review, and I'm going to let you do this one because I often steal the reviews.
Yes, but it's a review from Germany, so...
but I haven't prepped any German for this one, so...
Okay, I'll take it then. It's from...
Kratschmacherlotta.
Kratschmacherlotta from Apple Podcast Germany. And the subject is delightful! Exclamation point. Great balance of well-done analysis and meandering chit-chat.
You have no idea how meandering it actually is. You get the edited version. It really meanders. No, but thank you ever so much. Dankeschön for the review. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Greatly.
Thank you so much. And I love it. It was just one sentence that hits exactly kind of what we are and what we aim for. So thank you very much.
All right, let's conclude this one. Jon has got to be feeling pretty lonesome here at the Night's Watch, especially sending Ed away. And Val,
Yes.
honestly. I mean, at least Val seemed fond of him.
Yeah, most of the brothers who would understand his motives on many of his decisions, like the command of Longbarrow and garrisoning all of the castles, Leather's and Satin's promotions, One's existence, what he's doing with the corpses in the ice cells, the plan with bringing the Wildlings across, they all make sense if you set aside past prejudices and look at things from the proper perspective. It's humans versus others in this building final battle, and some men are not capable of doing that. And I feel like clearly the Brothers of the Night's Watch chose correctly when voting for a new Lord Commander.
Yeah.
A young, newish brother who's able to adjust and discard old prejudices to face this new threat.
We may be biased, but we are also right.
Two things can be correct. Two things can be right at once, I guess. Yeah.
Jon is putting a lot of faith in Val, but I don't think there's any chance of Val betraying Jon. But it's a difficult task she's been set. That's the part that seems hard to me. Is actually the chances of success seem slim. She's got to find them and convince them.
Right. Yeah. And if something bad happens, it's not just the king to contend with. It's another dagger in Jon's image as a capable Lord Commander.
Yeah, true.
She did seem sincere that she'd return, but it might not be up to her. There might be some force that she comes up against. It could simply be her horse falls and breaks a leg or something, and she's trapped out there and has no way of getting back.
Right.
But Bowen makes very few good points. But one is that thousands more wildlings coming from Tormund and possibly Hardhome, although Jon never did explain why he was telling that story, caused them to be even shorter on food stores. I will give him that. That is going to be a concern. But I think it's a concern they have to deal with after they get as many living humans south of the wall.
Correct, Mackelly. Exactly. And I mean, again, they have the gift. There's enormous potential for food in the gift. Close to the wall, it's been picked clean. Even it was saying that even Ghost is struggling to find anything because of the number of wildlings living there and hunting.
Right. Yeah.
But with more people, you can build longer supply lines. And so you can go, bring food from further away. I don't think that this is unsolvable as a problem. I do think having tens of thousands of undead scaling the walls is an insoluble problem.
Yes, right. Well, it's if you're prioritizing, if you're triaging the situation,
exactly,
you put the undead coming in huge waves ahead of, okay, now we're going to run out of food before the winter is over. We have to address this issue.
So Val thinks that Melisandre knows who the baby, who she dubs Monster, by the way, which is a good name for it, is. We don't know what this means. We don't know whether this is a good news or bad news. The good news is that might stop Melisandre throwing it on a fire. The bad news is it's something that she can use as leverage over Jon because Jon has deceived Stannis by doing this.
All true. Yeah. And, if Jon has to convince her that this is not Mance's baby, this little boy is not Mance's baby, he might have played his hand too well in setting this all up, which could be a problem.
Yeah.
But he also, so he tells the story of Hardhome at the end of the chapter, but he didn't, as I mentioned a little bit ago, it didn't come with any plan or directive. So what was it? Was it just a cautionary tale? This is what we're going to be up against. So we need to bring Tormund and his people and any other wildling leaders that we can come across. We need to bring them in. Or is he planning on mounting some sort of rescue at Hardhome? We don't know. He never.
My understanding was that he was going to talk about some kind of rescue mission until the misbelief of idiots kept on interrupting him to say why it was a bad idea to do this. And then he just didn't bother telling them and sent them away. I think he has got a plan. I mean, it's not like Jon Snow to say, if we leave tens of thousands of wildlings north of the wall to die at the hands of the White Walkers, we will face a larger army. What's for dinner?
Yeah.
It's Jon Snow's, MO to do something about it. So, I think something was coming.
Okay.
Next week, you're going to need to find your sea legs again because we're back on board the Celisori Coran with Tyrion and Jorah Mormont. Join us then.
And Penny.
Don't forget Penny. There's 3 ways that you can help us. You can leave us a 5-star rating and a positive review like Crack Macalotta did. You could buy us an Arbor Gold or become a sustainer at buymeacoffee.com/ghostharrenhall. There's a tier to match your budget and interest, and you can give the tiers a 7-day free trial. Or you can make a donation directly to our cause at our website, ghostsofharrenhall.buzzsprout.com.
And if you're looking for more ways to interact with us, well, one thing you can do is you can send us a text. The link is at the top of every episode show notes. Just please keep in mind we have no means of responding, but we do enjoy reading your messages. If you're interested in keeping up on the latest Ghosts in Harrenhal news and developments, well, I suggest you check us out on our social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Ghosts Harrenhal, or on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and YouTube.
Are you listening, Dan Marino? Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.